All right, so we've got Dr. Meenal Dhabalia. She is a medical professional with over 20 years of experience in gynecology and fertility. She heads a team of gynecologists and embryologists in two hospitals in Mumbai. That's Aditi Medical Center and Aditi Super Speciality Hospital. So I am going to unmute Dr. Meenal right away and let's get it started. So there you go. All right. Hello, Dr. Meenal. Good morning.
Hello, Sanjana. Happy morning. Hope everyone is fine.
Yes, absolutely. We are so excited to get this started.
Even I am excited to talk to all you people.
That's amazing. So, Dr. Meenal, we curated a couple of questions from a lot of our participants who sent us these questions beforehand.
Okay.
So, I'll dive right in. So, let's start with cervical cancer, Dr. Meenal, because it is something that we hear about it, but we don't really know what it is, how it is, and what it happens. And there are so many misconceptions as well. So, can you tell us, doctor, what cervical cancer is and what are the symptoms for the same?
Okay, now to a literal meaning, cervical cancer is the cancer of the cervical cavity. Now for that, one should know what is the cervix, because it's very important to know the cervix, because most of the time patient confuse it with the uterus. So cervical, can you see this? So cervical canal is a cylindrical structure. This is the cervix, which connect the uterus to the vagina. So in a simple language, cervical cervix is the opening of the uterus, or it is the mouth of the uterine cavity. So any cancer or malignant cell occurring in the cervical canal is known as the cervical cancer. Now, why it is different from the uterine cancer? Since it is so closely related, but still both are very different, because both have different type of cell lining. Uterus has different types of cells, cervix has a different type of cell, both have different type of cancer, and the symptom wise also uterus has a different type of presentation, while cervix is different. Cervix is more virulent type of cancer, and it is very difficult to diagnose cervical cancer. Now coming to the second part of your question, what are the symptoms? Unfortunately, it is like that early stages of cervical cancer is not going to show any symptoms. Most of the time it will have the presentation like patient will have slight weakness, or sometimes they have weight loss, or end of the day they feel tired. So most of the time they think these are the normal symptoms. For this, they don't go to a doctor. They think it's because of the overwork or multitasking or so many things. So most of the time initial stages are missed by the patient. But apart from it, there are again few signs and symptoms of the cervical cancer, which in Indian female, which is very common cancer, still they miss it, and then when they come to doctor's cabin, they are already in the stage 3 or the stage 4 or the advanced cancers. So now coming to the symptoms of the cervical cancer, the first very important symptom of the cervical cancer is the irregular bleeding. Those who are having a very regular cycle, they are having 25 to 35 days normal regular cycle. If in between post menses or any time in between, apart from their normal menses, they have slight bleeding or more, or even a spot which is not a part of their menses, they have finished their menses, and in between suppose they have the bleeding, that is irregular bleeding, baby. And most of the time this is the first sign of the cervical cancer. But most of the time when they have this type of symptom, they think this is not normal, maybe it must have happened because of something. They wait for a month to check again, or they consult with their friends, or they Google and check whether what it is. So by the time they land into a doctor's cabin, it is already advanced. So don't miss this symptom. Irregular bleeding, PV, apart from your normal menses, is an abnormal symptom, and it's one of the sign of the cervical cancer. Now the second, which is very important in Indian female, is heavy bleeding, PV. In Indian females think more is good. They should bleed more. Even if they bleed more, they pass clot, they never go to the doctor. They think it's a dirty blood, let it come out of it, and they will feel light once they have the heavy bleeding. See, heavy bleeding PV may be because of the so many reasons. It may be because of the benign reasons also, like it's because of the cyst or some hormonal changes or fibroid uterus. But Out of 100 patients who come to visit for heavy bleeding PV, 95 will not have any symptom, or they will have any normal symptoms or normal cyst or benign condition. But 2 to 5% of heavy bleeding PV will have cervical malignancy. So don't miss that symptom. And even if you have a normal symptoms, like you don't have the cervical cancer, but you have a heavy bleeding PV, definitely it's reducing your hemoglobin. For that, you need to check with your doctor why you are bleeding so much. Throughout your menses, like 3 to 5 days of cycle, female should not bleed more than 80 ml. 80 ml is such a small. Indian females bleed much more than that. So any bleeding, if you're bleeding more, if you have lots of clot passing out, more than 5 days, 7, 8 days, you keep on bleeding, or sometimes you're not bleeding, you're bleeding 3 to 5 days, but then spotting is going on. And daily 1 drop per day is again too much of blood loss from your body. So heavy bleeding PV is the second symptom of this cervical cancer. Third, very, very important symptom of the cervical cancer is the postcoital bleeding. Bleeding post-intercourse. Any age, adolescence age, reproductive age group, or it may be a postmenopausal. So even if there is a slight spot or pinkish discharge post-intercourse, please visit your doctor, insist for internal checkup, because it may be the early sign. Cervical cancer first appears on the cervix just as an irregularity or a small ulcer, and it will be in the early stages when it will be completely taken care of from your body. But suppose if you miss these symptoms, it's going to grow more and more, and you land into a more virulent stages of the cervical cancer. Now, one more symptom which is very important and most of the time neglected is postmenopausal bleeding. Nowadays it happens that, okay, reproductive age group generally comes with their gynec, and there is nothing as such as annual checkups. We don't believe in annual checkup. Female don't go for the annual checkups. They generally, for the pregnancy or some infertility, they come to a doctor, and once they deliver, they think they are absolutely fine. And once they stop menses, they don't go to the doctor. So ideally, once you have stopped your menses, when you have landed into a menopause, you have to go to a doctor and check whether actually you have landed into menopause, or because of some reasons you have stopped your menses. And there are a few blood tests, there are sonography, there you can check the lining of the uterine cavity. And suppose, okay, everything is fine and you have landed into a postmenopausal state. After that, any type of bleeding, however small it may be, is a symptom of cervical cancer. Please take note of this thing, which is very, very important. Now, one more symptom which is important and which is not taken care of, especially in the young girls and the young females, are the vaginal discharge. There is a lot of vaginal discharge, foul smelling discharge. Most of the female thinks it's because of the fungal infection. They keep on applying candid gel, they keep on putting the pessaries inside. See, vaginal discharge can be because of so many reasons. It can be because of the fungal infection, bacterial infection, or something more than that. So ideally, you have to go to your doctor. Doctor is going to check which type of infection it is, and accordingly, they are going to treat you. Because one more important thing is that frequent cervical infection or frequent vaginal infection is again a predisposing factor for the cervical cancer. So all these are important symptoms which female need to take care of, especially, as I said, irregular bleeding PV and postcoital bleeding and postmenopausal. You should always go to a doctor, and all the females should annually go to a doctor and visit them so that they can check them internally and find out and do a PAPS test.
Right. Okay. Doctor, is there a vaccine for cervical cancer, and at what age should women take them?
See, luckily, cervical cancer has a very good vaccine, which is the human papilloma virus vaccine. See, cervical cancer, most of the time, is a sexually transmitted infection. It's because of the HPV infection, human papilloma virus infection. So chances of cervical cancer is more after the sexual intercourse. So ideally the vaccine has to be taken before the sexual intercourse, sexual activity starts. So that's why it has to be given to the female, to the young girls from the age of 12 to 15 years. You can start giving those vaccines. If you give them at the age of 12 to 15 when they have not started their sexual activity, at least in Indian scenes, so they can take only 2 vaccines in the 6 months time. You take today one, give after 6 months, and they are done with that. But from the 15 up to the 26 age, ideally this vaccine can be taken from the age of 12 up to the age of 26, when it is very, very effective. So if they are taking after the age of 15, they have to take the 3 doses, because most of the time, not all, but few must have started their sexual activity. They have to take 3 doses, day 0 after 2 months and 6 months after your first dose. If you'll take till 20 age of 21, 3 doses, it's very good vaccine. Now the FDA has approved taking those vaccine till the age of 45. Maybe at the age of 40, it's not going to protect you completely for the cervical cancer, but apart from cervical cancer, it also protect you from the vaginal warts, from the vulval cancer, from the anal cancer. So at any age, like till the age of 45, if you have not taken the vaccine, take it. But for your girls, young girls, you have to give before the age of 15. It's better, but if you miss, you can take it anytime.
All right, doctor. All right. So let's move to ovarian cancer now. Can you tell us what is, again, ovarian cancer, what it is, and what are the symptoms?
Okay, now coming to the ovarian cancer, cancer occurring in the ovaries are the ovarian cancer. So see, ideally reproductive tract of the female consists of the uterine cavity with the cervix, fallopian tubes, and the 2 ovaries. And ovaries are the egg producing organs of the female. It's mainly for the fertility of the. And if you'll compare with the cervical cancer with the ovarian cancer is far more aggressive cancer, is the 3rd leading cause of cancer in the Indian scenario. And most of the time when patient comes with the symptoms of this, the cancer has already progress or metastasized to the other abdominal and pelvic organ, because most of the time it does not give any symptoms, because abdomen is like a magic box. Ovaries are so small. When they start giving symptom, as I told you in the cervical cancer, in ovarian cancer also they have weird type of the symptoms, like they will have sometimes in weight loss or giddiness or weakness, which most of the time you don't take care of. You don't think it's going to be something sufficient, significant. You think, no, this is just a routine work or heavy work, because of which you are having that. But few symptoms are again very important in the ovarian cancer. And patient may complain of bloating of the abdomen. They complain of distension of the abdomen, and this bloating or distension of the abdomen may be because of the collection of the fluid inside your abdominal cavity, which is again a sign of the advanced form of ovarian cancer. They are not able to eat more. Even after eating small amount, they feel absolutely full. They have a chronic pain in the lower abdomen or in the pelvic area. They have chronic backache, and sometimes they feel like going to the loo frequently, passing urine frequently, but they are not unable to pass. They complain of constipation. So these are the general symptoms most of this ovarian cancer patient will have. And once it has progressed to the other organs like uterus or the pelvic area, then they may have the menstrual symptoms also, like they can have irregular bleeding, PV, but per se it comes quite late. Initial symptoms are the general symptoms. That's why ovarian cancer again has to be checked annually by internal checkup or transvaginal sonography. And if you'll visit your doctor, do a pap smear for cervical cancer, do transvaginal sonography, it will take care of both cervical as well as the ovarian cancer.
Right. So, doctor, one of our attendees also had a question. Does having PCOS, PCOD increase your chance of getting ovarian cancer?
No, by all up till now, now those have research has going on, nowadays it happens that everything is ka label PCOD ko lag jata hai. Everything, whatever you are, it's because of the PCOD, weight gain because of PCOD, irregular menses because of PCOD. So PCOD is again an overdiagnosed symptom, and per se this is not a disease, it's a syndrome. It's a hormonal change inside your body and some metabolic chain basically when the patient is not ovulating, and because of the ovulation there is a changes inside the uterine cavity, but per se there is no evidence that PCOD can cause ovarian or cervical cancer.
Okay, doctor. All right. So we are opening the floor to questions now. We'll take 5 minutes of Q&A. So if any of our participants here have any questions at all, you can write it in the chat box. It's open to everyone. We can all view your Q&A. So go ahead. Doctor, I also wanted to know, there is some people say that there are common symptoms between ovarian cancer and PCOS, PCOD, और जैसे आपने कहा कि कुछ भी हो जाता है, weight gain हो, acne हो, people say कि अच्छा ये तो PCOD की वजह से होता है. So doctor, how can we differentiate? Are there some tests we can do? Are there some symptoms that we can see? If we are having, कैसे पता चलेगा कि ये PCOS है या ovarian cancer के symptoms हैं?
See, no, both are absolutely different. See, PCOD is, as I said, it's a overdiagnosed thing. Like, when you do routinely, when the female go to a sonologist and they do a sonography and they see the ovary showing small cysts, they label it as a PCOD. No, PCOD is not that. PCOD is having two or more symptoms. Like if you have multiple cysts in the ovary, with that, you have anovulation, you're not ovulating, or you have hirsutism, or this type. So this is the PCOD. Now, very important thing is PCOD means polycystic ovarian disease. That cyst is a misnomer. There is no big cyst or anything like that. There's a small eggs which are there. So this is a misnomer. So per se, ovarian cyst is not going to produce some cyst or something like that. While ovarian cancer has a different type of presentation. Ovarian cancer will show a lump over the over the ovary, or it may have a small cyst. In PCOD, such cyst will not be there. Even if the cysts are there, they're the simple cyst, fluid-filled cyst, which are very different. So you can definitely demarcate between the PCOD and ovarian cancer. Both are polar parts.
Okay, doctor. All right. So we have a question here. Nidhi says, my mother had endometrial cancer. I am now 42. Would you advise HPV vaccination at this age? And what about for her daughter who is 16? Should she have 2 doses or 3 doses?
So now for her, she is 42. So see, Gardasil or cervical cancer vaccine is for the cervical cancer, not the uterine cancer or the ovarian cancer, but it is worth taking that vaccine because it's going to protect her not only from the cervical cancer, but from the, as I said, vulvar cancer, vaginal cancer, and those who have a family history of endometrial cancer, like her mother has a endometrial cancer. So this doesn't mean that their kids or their daughters is going to get the same. They may not have, or they may have different type of cancer. So it's always, she can take till the age of 45, but she has to take 3 doses of vaccine. For her daughter also, she also has to take the 3 doses because she is more than 15. From 12 to 14, you take 2 doses. But after that, it's better to give 3 doses of the Gardasil or HPV vaccine. For her, it's very important because her mother had the endometrial cancer. So she should also do pap smear annually. In fact, every woman should do pap smear from the age of 21 till the menopause, they should do. And if she has a heavy bleeding PV or something like that, then in such cases, she should do sonography also every yearly. And if needed, she can go for a biopsy. But otherwise, pap smear is more than sufficient, and check up by a doctor.
Okay, doctor. So we have one last question since we have to close the session in about 2 minutes. I'm just going to read it out. This is from Harjot. She says that often symptoms are not taken seriously by medical professionals, and no matter how much we try, doctors insist that it is not a big deal and don't perform internal checks. If this is the case in a lot of urban settings, how do you think healthcare can be held accountable for taking these disorders and concerns more seriously? So how can, I mean, I think that depends doctor to doctor personally.
Yeah, that's why, you know, the patient should always insist, because internal checkups are very important. Now so many things are replaced by the sonography. Doctor check by the sonography, but it has different implication. Doing an internal examination, you have a visual look of the cervix. You can check the cervix. You can always, first you should go to a gynec, not a general practitioner, because all these things, they're at a better position to do few things. Number one. Number two, if your doctor is not doing that, insist for doing an internal checkup. Still she is not doing, you can change your doctor.
Okay, doctor. So we have one last question. I think this is important. So I would love for us to go beyond 11:50 and still take this question. Can you tell us the name of cervical vaccine that should be taken by young girls?
Gardasil or Cervarix, but Gardasil is better because it covers 16, 18, 11 and 12. 16, 18s are the strain which are, most of the cervical cancers are caused by those strains. So taking a Gardasil is important. And now a new vaccine like Gardasil 9, which has a 9 strains which covers most of the other things also, as I said, warts and all that. But Gardasil or Gardasil 9 are the best vaccine to take.
So Gardasil or Gardasil 9. How do you, how can I spell this, doctor? I'll just write it in the chat for everyone.
Gardasil.
Gard. Okay. All right. Great. So in case anybody has questions, more questions for Dr. Meenal, you can always email us at host@thepinkboxindia.com, and we'll pass on these questions to Dr. Meenal and she will answer them to you, and then we'll mail it back to you. So thank you so much, Dr. Meenal, for being with us. I think this session has been so amazing and so informative. There are a lot of thank yous coming from Nidhi and Rukaya, everybody who's asked these questions. So thank you so much, doctor.
Thank you, Sanjana. Really happy to connect with you all. Thank you so much.
Doctor, thank you. And our next session is on PCOS by Ms. Nidhi Singh, who is the founder of PCOS Club India. So we'll be with you guys. Nidhi will be online in another 8 minutes. So we will be back then. Thank you so much again, Dr. Meenal, and have an amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.